The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is my favorite game of all time. I fell in love with so much about it. It was the first game I'd gotten since Pokemon Y on the 3DS, and it embodied the same sense of adventure and discovery. What can I say? Just a Nintendo kid. But another aspect I loved was the character storytelling. Storytelling that was evident in their dialogue, of course, their settings and their surroundings, and most importantly for the video, their designs. However, over the last couple of years, college and art responsibilities have made it difficult to justify playing these games. That all changed recently in my Discord community when a member dropped a video recommendation that reignited my love for the game. This video in question, while being in response to some back and forth with another individual, touched on something that I hadn't realized about a character design that I loved so much, but evidently it had its flaws. Some major ones too. Actually, today's video is going to touch on the design of a specific race of people within this game. Today, I'll be attempting to redesign an important member of this race and my favorite character in the game, pilot of the divine beast Va Naboris, and champion of the Gerudo, Lady Urbosa. Just some disclaimers before we get started. For those who have not played the game, there might be some light spoilers, and since the video is mainly art-based, that shouldn't be a problem. Secondly, as I hope I've been able to illustrate, I love this game, and I love its magnificent character design that accentuates the majesty of its people. Plus, they're at least in part based off of black people, so I just gotta like it for that. It's just that, as highlighted in the video that started all of this, it's largely the inspirations for set designs that are an issue. If you want a much more in-depth breakdown, please check it out. I've linked it down below. But the main point for our video, and for our case, is that it's a strange mix of designs from various unrelated cultures. I'll also be focusing on designs from Breath of the Wild specifically. One, because I haven't played the other games. And two, you know... In Lady Urbosa's design, for example, we have a mix of Southeast Asian, West Asian, and North and South African influences that, while they look awesome together, they exemplify a sense of Orientalism, oh I got that spelling crazy, in her design. Simply, we have a mix of different cultures that emphasize her and her people's otherness compared to the rest of the races in the game. What we're doing today does not replace the original design. It's simply a different interpretation that attempts to be more respectful of those it draws inspiration from. This is not official artwork in any way. I just added Spark for Nintendo lords watching this. This is all for fun in the end, so please do not take this seriously. With all that being said, enough of all the yapping, and it's finally time that we begin. The first order of business is establishing some constraints. For the elements we'll be keeping in her design, we have her hair and skin color, the Hylian tunic as it's important narrative-wise, her body proportions to some extent, some of her jewelry and her armor, and finally, cultural symbols, namely the Gerudo symbol. For what we'll be changing, it's just mainly the overall attire and some facial features. Additionally, and probably most importantly, we'll be focusing on a fixed region to gather influence from. In this case, for us, it's going to be North Africa. Forgive me for any mispronunciations in the next couple seconds, but specifically the Tuareg and Amazigh peoples. You got to keep in mind that considering this region, we cannot have her showing too much skin.
Wait, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. All right. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
I'm not that much of a prude. It's just that people who come from desert regions are often wearing loose clothing that covers much of their body as a way to regulate their temperature and protect their skin from intense sun and desert winds. No culture can survive in the desert if they dress the way the Gerudo do in the game. I've even found a real historical figure with a similar status to Urbosa to get some inspiration from. Her name is Al-Kahina, also known as Dahlia, or the Queen of the Ores. With all that being said, let's begin. The early phases of this project were actually started live on Twitch, so if you want to get access to stuff like this, go ahead and join in on Mondays and Thursdays at 7 a.m. The first stage of any character design project is the silhouette stage. Here you're simply brainstorming using black and white and shape language to inform the audience about the personality of this character. A good silhouette is one that can stand out amongst at least other characters in the series, if not all over the world. That's why you can see a silhouette of Sonic or Mario and know exactly who it is. As for the shape language side of things, it should be able to help your audience see the personality of this character. In the case here, we have a rectangle and a triangle. The rectangle informs Urbosa's reliable, sturdy nature, and the triangle informs her capacity for violence or capacity for danger when needed to protect her people. I like to start off with about 9 to 10 ideas. What I can do with these silhouettes is I can simply use the references I got to create a couple ideas here and there, and after I'm done with all those, I can then pick my favorite one and use that as a basis to do the final design. Then I can bring in all the other elements that I actually enjoyed in the others to make the final piece. For this part, I actually did so with the help of my audience on Discord and on those who are watching on Twitch. And what I did is essentially I had all the designs made or all the silhouettes made, and then I did a quick poll to see what everyone thought would work best. So here's a short clip of that. It looks like based on our poll here, we picked 8 to be our basis, and then we're going to steal some elements from the others to do that. So yeah, this is exciting. After that was done, it was now time to start merging the silhouettes. So as mentioned, number 8 was a fundamental basis, and once I had number 8 done, it's just to add the rest of the elements. For a quick breakdown of all the elements from references that were involved in this piece, we can find the Tuareg neck piece. It's a triangular neck piece that's present there. That comes from, of course, as I mentioned, the Tuareg culture, and it's actually present in the illustration of Al Kahina I showed y'all earlier. We also have the Amazigh neck chain that was also present. And again, y'all can't see that stuff yet, but you'll see in the next part where this fully comes to play. Another thing that's present is actually from the original design, Urbosa's original design, is the Gerudo belt that she has. I'm also excited to keep that as well. The head cover is actually something that comes from Amazigh people. So yeah, those are the main elements that I decided to keep for her design. Here is the final silhouette for her character design. You can already see a regal shape or a regal aesthetic start to form. And what we did, it was essentially just make those silhouettes and then merge elements from the different silhouettes that I had using the references that I got. And we're already starting to see a more cohesive image of Urbosa right here. But the job is certainly far from over, because now it's time for this section is pretty straightforward. I'm mostly just going in and making those final details in the design before coloring comes into play. The first step in this is to work on the face, and in order to do so, I just got a sketchbook and a charcoal pencil and just went ham. And it took a couple tries, but eventually I ended up with a design that I thought was pretty good. And what you're seeing now is that coming to fruition. Two main elements that inspired this design include the tattoos that are common in Amazigh traditional attire, and the ears, which were referred to me by my Discord members, that come from a character called Pirates in the old school anime called Record of Lodoss War. Very interesting reference ideas, but it ended up working pretty well for this design. They wanted more pointy ears for the design, and I thought, you know what, that actually kind of makes sense, so I decided to go with it. So I actually don't have a time lapse of when I started doing the sketch for the full body illustration, so I'm just going to describe the illustration for y'all as you see it here. As you can see with her design, things started coming together. I was actually not sure exactly what to do with the arms and legs because I did say that she was supposed to be relatively more covered, but I decided to suspend some disbelief in this case and leave the arms and the legs open because they were a symbol of her power. But I wanted to make sure that all the other parts was covered. So that's what you see here. In addition to that, we have the sword that she's holding, which I actually end up changing a bit more to make it more realistic to a real sword that exists. At this point, I'd completed the line art, so what we have here is the final line art of Urbosa. You can see the sword there. It's looking a lot more different, a lot straighter, because I decided to base it off a real North African sword known as the Nimcha. And apart from that, we have the same belt that Urbosa had in her original design. We also modeled different elements from different cultures. So the head cover is there, a bit more clarified. We have the earrings that actually come from the original Urbosa design. We have the jewelry, the triangular jewelry on her chest and near to her head. And then we have the Amazigh chain as mentioned before. It's now all starting to come together. We can see with this complete, our next and final step is here you're seeing me begin the process of making the final character sheet. I'm just trying to get a couple more views in here so we can get a couple of angles of her face and, to help with the overall design. My main philosophy for coloring designs is what's known as the 60-30-10 rule, and it's honestly helped me out a lot when trying to figure out how to color a character. This rule helps ensure that your character design's colors are a lot more organized, a lot less busy, and a lot less overwhelming for the audience. This is how I use that rule to decide the colors for Urbosa's design. So as you can assume from the name, this rule divides the color scheme into 3 major sections. The first section is what I like to call the main colors or the thematic colors. So in this case, it will be the navy blue that she wears. For my inspiration from this, I simply decided to take from the Tuareg people and their propensity for using blue in their attire. This part can be also used to show the personality of the character. It's actually a science, as different colors have different meanings and we interpret them differently. That's why you see a lot of fast food restaurants, for example, have red to signify hunger. And that's why a lot of tech firms use blue to signify trustworthiness, security, and stability. Unironically, those two concepts work in Urbosa particularly because you can say that the blue, as mentioned earlier, represents her sturdiness and her steadfastness, while the red of her hair can represent her passion and potential for violence. The next group in question includes what I like to call the necessaries. So these are typically immutable features such as the skin color and the hair color. Only things of note to say is that in this case, I decided to just give her the same hair scheme and skin color scheme that the Gerudo usually have, because I think those are beautiful and those are perfect. The only thing I'll say, if you are making a new character, try as much as possible to get it to match with your main color scheme. Another necessary in this case would probably be the Hylian tunic, so you can see the bottom right there, because that has narrative importance in the larger story of Breath of the Wild, so I decided to just keep that there. It still happened to be blue, so it works decently with the darker blue of the main color. For the last and certainly not least, we have the accent colors. That's the 10%. And simply put, their job is to highlight the borders of the main color, or even possibly the necessities as well. So essentially, imagine you have a blue thing, but a blue thing with gold on the edges, it just makes it pop a bit more. Accent colors are usually silver or gold, but it can differ depending on exactly what you want the project to be. In this case, I decided to use gold, not just because it looks nice, but because it reflects her status in Gerudo society. So it just happened to work really well. And as you can see on the time lapse, here is when we begin to complete the coloring of the piece. Yeah, this was definitely a blast to do. After this, I have one more illustration to make, more like a promotional stuff with full rendering, so I'll show y'all that in a little bit. Before that, I just had a couple things to say. Since getting this game in 2018, this is certainly not the first time I've come close to finishing it. However, this is the first time I've ever gotten the DLC. And in the DLC is a mission known as the Champion's Ballad, in which you solve different missions across Hyrule to find some memories left behind by the champions before their passing 100 years ago. Coupled with the video from earlier that mentioned the flaws in Urbosa's design, and having played through this mission, I knew I had to make a video on this game. It was a surprisingly touching moment in my playthrough, knowing what these characters had to go through and what ended up happening to them. Using all the references I could gather, here is the final illustration I came up with. For fun, I'd like to call her Radiant Urbosa. If you like this, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video all the way through the end. Before I go, I would like to give a special shout out to the Falcon tier patrons. Unawkward Sheep A, Red, Spicy Arts XOXO, Chianor, Shanti Bun, Reckless Persona, and CMG Villager. Thank y'all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy.